Now, the wings have the same overall green tint that you see on the body, but what a wonderful choice to make it almost the negative of the body. Instead of the black stripes on green, you now have green stripes on, well, not exactly black, but on a very dark green. And this lends an exciting contrast with that of the body, and also sort of negative symmetry, if you will. And underneath, you have as the base color the same very pale green that you see on the underside of the dragon. But I want to highlight something very unusual about the structure of the wings. Now, for most dragons, you see a wing that is usually fully open. Again, now referencing the Eternal Dragon, the wing that's fully open. Here, for this dragon, you get a more 3D construction. So, if you look at it from the side now, see how that folds up that way? What you're actually seeing is a partially open wing. And you know, it's nice to see not just that the wing membranes actually fold up and how they might actually do that, but you also see how the finger joints themselves might fold. And this gives it a very 3D construction. So you get a very undulating structure this way, which suggests more possible movement in the wings than any other dragon we've seen so far. And what allows this degree of movement? Now here the designers really did a fantastic job. As you can see, branching off the main fingers, these supportive structures. Yes, it might be the wing membranes folding up, but it's suggestive of some sort of support structure. And over here, you see this detail very closely coming off the fingers, the wing fingers. Look at that detail. You know, that almost looks like the sort of detail you'd expect from a Geiger illustration. So these supportive structures like mini struts probably not just support it in folding, but also strengthens the wing when it's flapping. So, you know, that's really amazing work. You know, with that kind of detail, it's almost an anticlimax to note that the wing arm has also echoes the same spininess of the creature, with a double row, with a double spikes on the shoulder, and then going down the arm, and then ending on these spear points. You know, that's really nice. This is a modified 5th digit. Looks like it might be a sort of stabbing spear. So that's a nice feature. Interestingly, for the connection points, they've used an intermediate plug system here. I'm not sure why they've done that. If you recall in the past, most dragons just had little nubs on which you can affix the wings. Now, just a word of caution. It's fantastic to get detailed pieces like this, but the more intricate the sculpture, the more careful you've really got to be. I had a near heart attack when I dropped the wing, and I was worried that I might break off one of these structures. And speaking of breaking off, I noticed that this spike looks like it's been broken. It's not, apparently, unless this was broken before it got sealed. I rather like this because it just gives an organic look to the animal. You know, like normal wear and tear, or might have been battle damage. Very nice. And just one last thing, I didn't actually look at the head, but this is actually a very nice head. If you look at that, that's obviously reminiscent of a Styracosaurus, and that animal is just fearsome. Now here is the base, and for once, compared to my usual gripes about the presence of humans in the McFarlane dragon dioramas, this time the humans are really integral to the scene. Now I must say that this is one of the most intricate bases I've encountered so far. In terms of locale, it's just a rocky outcrop. But the detail is amazing. and unlike other dioramas we've seen, matches the detail in the dragon in a sort of mutual partnership. The scene is of a dragon being subdued by 5 burly men through a sort of chain and pulley system. Here's the yoke. Here's the yoke. And very nicely it is attached to 5 rail chains with rail links. Now, these two are held by these two figures here. Not surprisingly, at this scale, you don't expect a lot of detail on the humans, but some nice touches here. The folds in the clothing of this man, the musculature of this guy, where you can see his abs, and also some of that musculature on the triceps and the traps. So nice bit of effort here. You'll see that these chains actually feed through these links. So by pulling on the chain here, you actually the chain actually feeds through the ring. And what's truly amazing is over here you see these 3 chain and pulley setups, and each of these really does feed through the pulley, right? See, it moves when I pull on it, feeding through the pulley. And you know, some other wonderful detail include these steps here cut into the rock. And here you see that there is some vegetation below. They didn't really have to do that. You know, this is the kind of thing that I really appreciate, when they put in some detail that, you know, would not really be necessary and probably wouldn't go noticed if it wasn't in there, but they have. And you see this bit of shrubbery that's bent over. Well, there's a reason for that, because the dragon is going to have the foot here. Let's put it all together. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to try to increase the slack on these chains by pulling through the rings here. Okay, I'm going to try to increase the slack by just pulling a little bit. So try to feed, give it a bit more slack through each of these. Okay, then the next thing you want to do is you want to lift this yoke up and then put the feet underneath. Now, there's a hole here in the foot that supposedly goes onto this peg over here. But we're not going to worry about this, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Likewise, you have 2 pegs here which fit onto the feet of the dragon. Okay, then what you want to do is that you now try to get the yoke in. So that's why it's really important to have the chains as slack as possible to begin with. And then what you can do is to pull on these chains just to make it taut and make it look like they're really trying to restrain the animal. Just one point. So what's happened here is that it's not actually going to be very possible to fit the foot onto that peg unless you twist the dragon. And it really doesn't make any sense because see the bent shrubbery over here? I like the foot to be actually pressing down, which makes sense. You know, the weight of the animal forcing these this vegetation downwards. So I'm just going to leave it there and not worry about the peg, right? So this is the final dragon, and when I reviewed the Series 5 Eternal, I kept using the word beauty. For this dragon, the words I'd use would be ferocious desperation. Every chain is taut in tension, opposing the pull of the dragon as it fights to get away. Every muscle in the upper body and arms and wings are straining in its fight for freedom. And the humans, while being such an eyesore in previous McFarlane Dragon dioramas, are integral to this one. There's really little room for interpretation about what's going on. It's obvious. Man against dragon. But this time the underlying message might be a little more serious. These men aren't just trying to kill it, they are actually trying to capture it. For what nefarious or ignoble purpose, no one knows. but it might be another allegory of that man versus nature theme. If this had just been men with chains like this, I'd say the outcome was pretty much up in the air. But the presence of this simple pulley system, indicating the earliest rudiments of science, hint at the tragedy that men might actually win this one. And this scene could well be the beginning of the end of the Age of Dragons. In summary, this is a truly awesome dragon, very dynamic, an awesome story, and one in which no detail has been spared. I would say that this dragon is easily a cut above many of the others you'll find in the McFarlane series, and I always believe it's better to spend more on one great dragon than less on a few not so spectacular ones, especially if you haven't got the space for it. I do have the Series 5 Sorcerer Dragon, but as you guys know, I don't really like humanoid bipedal forms, and really it's not a lot to write you about, so I won't be reviewing that one. So effectively, this ends my review for the Series 5 Dragons. Once again, thanks for watching. I'm going to get to Series 6 in a while, and feel free to leave comments, whether it be thoughts, feedback or questions. Till next time, I will see you very soon, and have a great second quarter of the year.